Welcome to the Malik's Lounge Podcast, Episode 1, recorded May 13th, 2015. This episode's special guest, MasakoX of TeamFourStar and Anifile. If you like what you hear, please be sure to give the video a like and hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to support Malik Studios' videos, doujinshi, and original projects, please donate to my Patreon at www.patreon.com/MalikStudios. What's up, everybody? This is Malik here, and welcome to the very first episode of Malik's Lounge, a little podcast where we're going to be discussing all things related to the Dragon Ball fandom, and possibly taking questions, comments, concerns, all that other stuff. If you guys like what you hear in the podcast, do please make sure to give it a like and a share down below. Today, joining myself on Malik's Lounge, we have the one and only MasakoX. What's going on there, Mas?
Well, hello there. I'm happy to be here in this lounge. It's very comfortable, and I do enjoy the mood lighting.
I made sure. I spared no expense. Got the mood lighting, we got the nice little leather chairs, and plenty of heat tap on tap.
Ah, yes. Now that's what I'm talking about.
So, for those of you who hopefully have not been living under the proverbial rock for the last probably 10 years that Masako has been really well known, if you would, Masako, please let the audience know a little bit of what you do.
Well, I'm basically part of the parody group TeamFourStar, and we actually make the parody Dragon Ball Z Abridged. And we have gone on for about 7 years, and we've now just made a nice little niche for ourselves and just do silly things with Dragon Ball, and people like what we do. So that's how we kind of came to be. But other than that, I do voiceover work, I do editing work, and I read bad fan fiction as a hobby, and then show it to thousands of people. Yeah. So that's exciting.
Besides, obviously, TeamFourStar.com, what other websites would people be able to find your stuff on?
Well, you can find it on AnifileReviews.com, or you can search for Bad Fanfiction Theatre on Facebook, and you'll find my most current activity outside of TeamFourStar there. All
right. Now, let's discuss a little bit about TeamFourStar and, your history with them in general. You said it's been about 7 years. You guys really have been kind of blowing up over the last few years. How many subscribers did you guys just recently hit on YouTube? Wasn't it like something like 1 million, 2 million or something?
About, last time I checked, I think it was around 1.6.
Yeah,
like 1.6 million. Yeah.
It's up there. But a lot of people, like myself included, well, previously anyway, you and I have been talking and been friends for a while, so I know a little bit more than most people would know. But how exactly did, your whole involvement with TeamFourStar, how did that happen? Like, what brought all of you guys together?
Well, we kind of all started from a very similar background. We all did a bridge series of just different anime that we all liked at the time. So I started off with Vegeta 3986 doing Naruto. Lani Pator did a parody abridged version of Yu Yu Hakusho. Kaiser Neko did one of Lupin III, which I must say was really good. HBI 2K did Berserk. Megami 33 did Sailor Moon. Atfish did JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And Taka did G Gundam Abridged. So we all had our own kind of different series that we all liked as kids, and we just wanted to make it our own in terms of parody, as best we can, it being a parody and all. But right. One day we got to know each other naturally. We all became friends because we all mutually respected each other's work. And then we got talking one day when Kaiser and Taka were just talking about Kaiser's, if he could abridge any other show, then what would it be? And he was quite nervous and said Dragon Ball, and then Taka just said, just do it, man.
All right. Now, you mentioned, Little Karibo and how you guys did Naruto. This was something I've actually been meaning to ask you for a while, but, it always slips my mind. But now I have bullet points. I'm a little bit more prepared for this time, so was there ever any legitimate heat between you and Little Karibo? Because he always seemed to poke fun at you guys in the Naruto spoof comedy series, yada, yada, yada show.
Oh no, not at all. I mean, the fact is that Martin is one of the sweetest guys I know, and he's got a guy with a big heart, and it meant quite a lot that when in the first episode of Naruto Abridged, we did actually ask him to do a cameo as his Yami, and he did it actually, and we managed to get that, and that was a big deal. But the fact is, he didn't really talk to anyone at the time, but to get something like that from him was a real boon. And ever since then, every time I've met the guy, he's just been so, not nice and really kind. And yeah, his sense of humor lends itself to poking fun at things, but he's really good at doing it, so it's okay. So the whole Naruto spoof comedy fan dub series show, it was, I find it funny. I see the funny side of it, and I just think it's great. It's hilarious. So there's no heat at all.
All right. Well, that's good. Now, going back onto a little bit of TeamFourStar, people who are fans of TeamFourStar, but also huge fans of the Dragon Ball video game series, know that, of course, Takahata 101 appeared as voice number 8, his Nappa voice on Dragon Ball Xenoverse. And I think almost any TeamFourStar fan made create a character with Nappa's voice. But one thing I wondered, and we talked about this the last time we tried to record this, but how come no other members of TeamFourStar appeared on Dragon Ball Xenoverse?
Well, it wasn't down to the fact that only Taka got picked and Kaiser and Lani got snubbed. It's simply down to time. Because voicing in a game, there are tons of lines to be recorded for. And obviously time was against everybody. And what was originally meant to be the three of them all recording a custom character, it just ultimately became that they only had time for one of them to do it. And Taka got picked, and the other guys wrote his lines. So his parody versions of Tri-Beam, of Geometry and Advanced Geometry were, or the vast majority of those lines were written by the TFS crew.
Yeah, now let's break off into a little bit of Dragon Ball Xenoverse. Now, I know it's been a few months. I'm sure you've had time to do a little bit of a playthrough and stuff on Xenoverse. I personally have finished the game, I think, twice. I discussed with a lot of people about Xenoverse, and I had my first initial impressions of it. And playing it for a day, there was a lot of really good high points to it, but I also found that, for myself anyway, that there was low points, especially when it came to character customization. Granted, it was a lot better than Ultimate Tenkaichi, but let's get a little bit of input from you on the direction that they seem to have taken the Dragon Ball video games. They seem to have moved a little bit from the just plain out-and-out one-on-one fighting style aspects to, multiple teammates and stuff on the screen, almost like a MMO styled games.
Oh, well, I think it's the best thing that could have happened to the Dragon Ball game scene, because we've seen the same formula done time and time and time again, as in, it's been something that's been done so often, and it needed a change. Battle of Z was definitely a good step in the right direction in doing something different. And
I was not a fan, but some people were, so do your thing,
I get the idea that, Battle of Z was flawed, but I like the fact that at least they gave it a go. They gave it a chance to try something different. And it could have been a nice little throwback to the mid-90s Saturn games where you could have 4-player co-op. That would have been pretty epic. But, ultimately it didn't quite work out the way it could have done. But the fact that it was even attempted is something to have hope for. And sure enough, Xenoverse comes along and makes it into a fighting MMORPG sorts. And you get to play ultimately as your own character, and that has ticked the boxes of so many Dragon Ball fans that not only make their own character, but to have them look like a Toriyama product. It looks convincing, and the fact is that you can load out different attacks and all that, and it all looks so cool. And the fact, and it's been one of my own pet peeves about Dragon Ball, women can go Super Saiyan. I swear to God. that's been one of the biggest issues I've had with Dragon Ball up until now. The fact that female Saiyans could not go Super Saiyan.
And, like, you mentioned that, and, like, I think it was even in the GT Perfect guidebooks that they were talking about Pan, who obviously should have gone Super Saiyan at least a half dozen times over the course of Dragon Ball GT. But they even, like, played around and toyed with the idea that she could have been a Super Saiyan unlike any other Super Saiyan somehow. But I do think that was kind of weird that we never ever got to see in either the manga or, if we're not talking about the Dragon Ball Heroes manga or the animated series, that we never ever got to see a female Super Saiyan. And we kind of, it's kind of a bit of a wish fulfillment on Xenoverse's part that we actually finally got Super Saiyans.
Well, it's just, but prior to that, and for GT, Toriyama went and said that really he did not believe that a Saiyan or women could actually accrue the kind of rage that it would take to go Super Saiyan.
And he's married, so...
yeah, exactly. But, but no, female Saiyans, I think, with the right training and the right motivation, they could do that. They could do it just fine. And I think Pan could have been able to go Super Saiyan too.
Right. I mean, I don't understand how, like, Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr., who are what, only like a 16th?
A 16th.
Yeah, no, only a 16th, but they can still go Super Saiyan?
Vegeta Jr. is an 8th Saiyan.
Okay, so he's an 8th.
Goku Jr. is a 16th.
Yeah.
Because I believe...
Goku Jr., not Gogeta Jr.
I believe Vegeta Jr. is the grandson of Bra. I think.
Yes, I think so.
No. It's... Yeah, it is. Because Bra was...
It would have to be.
Yeah. It would be the grand...
Yeah, Bra has the daughter, and then that daughter is the one that we see in the tournament, and that's Vegeta Jr.'s mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like we said, Goku Jr. is a 16th, but if their bloodlines are that diluted and they could still go Super Saiyan, then it shouldn't have been an issue for Pan to become a Super Saiyan.
No, of course not. And she's able to, keep up. She's not like a dead weight while they go and look for the Black Star Balls.
Even though most people try to say she is, but no.
No, she's not.
She's not. She really contributed to the group in her own way.
She was stuck in base form. So, she could, if she had the ability to have the multiplier of Super Saiyan, she could have definitely been, like, equal to Trunks.
At the very least, she could have been equal to Trunks.
Yeah. So, yeah. I've been glad that's been dealt with in Xenoverse. And who knows, maybe in Super, it might be acknowledged.
And we're going to get to Dragon Ball Super here in a little bit. We'll continue on a little bit of discussion on Xenoverse. Now, we did have pet peeves about Xenoverse, little things, here and there. For me, I felt even though that we had a lot more freedom, if you're comparing it to like Ultimate Tenkaichi in terms of the character customization, but even at that, we were still kind of limited to what we were able to do with the character customization. And then just a couple of other little things here and there. But if they're going to do like Xenoverse 2, what would you like to see happen for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2?
I think a bigger overworld, definitely. Probably more of a... I don't know, actually. Xenoverse got a lot of things right in terms of the basic fundamentals.
I do think that they do need to stay on the track of an original plot line instead of us just playing the same storyline over and over again.
I think they will. I think they will be, because they've set that up for a sequel. And I think if they can just expand the overworld, which means that you can actually go down to Earth and actually explore it.
Going down to Earth, hunting for Dragon Balls, I mean, wouldn't that be super fun in the overworld? To give the overworld a little bit more something than just to be your clothing and item shop?
Yeah, exactly. And also not getting a Dragon Ball gifted to you every week. As cool as that may be, there's no challenge. So,
yeah, I do personally know somebody who waits He never does any of the missions to go out and find the Dragon Balls because they're just giving him a Dragon Ball like you said, every week or every other week.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe like a larger overworld, probably, keep up with the original storyline, and maybe just throw in some more characters. Because the fact that they didn't have Imperfect Cell and Semi-Perfect Cell.
That was a gripe of mine.
Even though the character models are in-game.
For at least Imperfect Cell. Imperfect Cell's character model we know for a fact is in-game. I don't recall if they had Semi-Perfect Cell in there, though.
But who knows? Maybe this might be DLC.
It could be. That would be kind of interesting. But yeah, I do agree with you on that. Now, like, would you like more like Dragon Ball, more Dragon Ball Z, or more Dragon Ball GT characters selectable as more than just like DLC? Because like I know that like with most of the DLC that we've gotten for the game has been really heavily GT oriented, and then we got some stuff from Resurrection F, but most of it is GT oriented. So like, do you like that, or would you like to see more like Z or regular Dragon Ball characters?
I think it would make sense to have some more Dragon Ball characters of the original ilk, but I just think that really they're too underpowered to really be in there as viable characters. I mean, Mr. Satan's only in there as a gag character. Yeah, and it's a good thing he has a jetpack.
His missions were hard.
They are hard. They are hard.
When he is evil Satan, he is ridiculous somehow.
Hail Satan!
Hail Satan!
Yeah, but I feel like it should really be. There needs to be. I think there will be more content regarding Super. I think there will be, again, I know I'm jumping the gun here, but I feel like Xenoverse, the fact that they built in Resurrection F DLC so quickly means that they obviously had this planned, and that it's gonna be gearing up for a DLC pack maybe in August, maybe in September.
Yeah, because like, you know, you just mentioned, they really did. I think they were really on their P's and Q's with that Resurrection F DLC. I mean, it was, I think within, what was it, like a week or 2 weeks of us seeing Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, and Golden Frieza, they were already announcing the DLC pack for it with their costumes and the wigs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we'll get to Dragon Ball Super here in a second. Now, you know, I talked to you earlier and you explained how some of the other guys, you know, they were trying to record, but it was just a matter of timing. Now, like who contacted them about that? Was it Funimation? Was it Bandai Namco? Like, who contacted the guys about coming there to record lines for them?
I'm not sure about the specifics, but since Lanny and Kaiser work in Dallas, and you know they're starting to get themselves into actual professional dubs, I imagine that they're able to just like get them recommended by particular people within Funimation or maybe even Bandai who developed the game. I'm not really 100% on that, so I don't think you can quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that somebody somewhere had something to do with it. It wasn't a case of either one of the three going like, we want to be in the game.
Right.
No, this was something provided to them, but from who, I'm not certain.
All right. Now, in regards to that, like, I know you guys are breaking off into a lot of video game dubbing, and as you just said, you guys are starting to sort of branch off into more professional dubs with series. Like, I know a guy that you guys have worked with, General Ivan, has been voicing stuff in Fairy Tail and a few other things. Antfish, I believe, was on Totally Spies and stuff like that. But in regards mostly to the anime front, can you, like, say what kind of a relationship, if any, you and the other members of TeamFourStar have with Funimation?
I don't really think that... it's hard to say. I would imagine, like, I think it's the kind of relationship that they tolerate us. That they tolerate what we do. And they look the other way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I think it's more like they'll allow it, but for how long, who can say?
But I mean, if I'm not mistaken, like, isn't like Chris Sabat like I don't know if I could go as far as to say he's friends with you guys, but he's viewed the TFS stuff, and I guess I could consider that he's a bit of a fan of your guys' work.
Well, yeah, that is true. But yeah, that is definitely true. I have heard him say on panels that he likes what we do, and so it means that there is a certain amount of kind of kudos there that people that they like that he likes what we do in terms of just like as a gag or something. But who knows? Maybe this might lead to some potential collaboration or working together in the future.
Which would
it's hard
be
to say.
Totally awesome. The implications of like some sort of like semi or even unofficial merger kind of between TeamFourStar and Funimation. I think that would be awesome.
No, I don't think that would happen because TeamFourStar has plans of their own, and they're quite grand. And we set up our Patreon a few weeks ago in the pursuit to actually set up our own studio, so we can actually, with the help of all our fans that have stuck by us for so many years, we want to like make more content for them and actually get the space in which to make, as in to have a place to actually make content.
I donate to that Patreon and
I know.
yours.
Well, thank you, and I've donated to yours.
Now, since we were talking about Funimation and stuff like that, and we touched on it a little bit before, of course, we have to talk about the movie. We have to talk about Resurrection F. Resurrection. Oh my goodness, like, I am so freaking excited about this particular movie in general. It's from just the trailers and stuff that we've seen, the animation looks freaking spectacular. We had that I guess it was a big huge premiere that happened in LA, which I was kind of how could I put it? I was kind of baffled that none of you guys were like, I mean, but I guess that could go back to your relationship with Funimation, why you guys weren't invited to go to the premiere.
I don't think we would have been given invitations.
It would have been awesome, though. They should have. You guys have big enough influence in the community. You should have been invited.
Nah, the thing is, though, I don't think that Funimation can really be seen to encourage what we do. Because,
Yeah, I guess.
I think, but definitely when it goes out for general release in Texas and in the Dallas area, I'm pretty sure that you're going to find Kaiser and Lenny in Dallas at the premieres, like probably the Alamo Draft House, because that's where they tend to have premieres in Dallas on a smaller scale. And since now they're actually doing it right and doing a worldwide release in 74 different countries, I'm definitely going to hit up the one that happens in the UK if there is one. And I'm pretty sure that Taka will do the same when it goes to Canada.
And like this movie is like you just said, we're getting a huge world premiering all over the world as a regular feature-length movie. And that is like an enormous step up from what we got with Battle of Gods, where we had to not only wait a year for them to dub it, but then we had to wait even longer than that for them to, release it. It was only a 4-day limited release. Granted, I went and saw it twice. We get the dub almost at the less than a year. It's amazing how quickly, it's just picking up and just it's steamrolling.
Well, remember back in 2 years ago, there was actually a potential thing that could have happened, that Fox could have actually recast the English dub, because they have the rights to Dragon Ball in the movie Rides to Dragon Ball. So they could have done that. They could have just reneged the Funimation cast and picked their own. Because that could have happened. That could have been a thing. Thankfully, though, that didn't happen. Thankfully, now Funimation is now the de facto kind of contributor when it comes to animated Dragon Ball movies. So it's it's great. And the fact is now I would imagine that Toei didn't necessarily think that Battle of Gods would be a success. I mean, they think it would do well and recoup its money, but not to the extent that it did. And now Resurrection F is like double, triple that.
Right.
It's crazy. And Battle of Gods was a really good movie.
It was. I was in the theater, and like both times that I went, the theater was packed, which was exciting in and of itself. And watching the animated series, the series has always been kind of goofy and funny, and you get a chuckle here and there, but I mean, there were some legitimate laugh out loud moments during the course of that whole movie, and it was legitimately entertaining. And I was also really surprised. Well, I don't even know if I would say surprised, but I was surprised that they really, really kept really close to the original script. They didn't deviate from it a lot, like some of the first like dubs that we got, the English dubs of the actual animated series, which that's where we get our whole cat loves food and Bardock being a brilliant scientist kind of thing. But they really, really stuck to the script, and I really enjoyed that about the movie.
Well, I think it's just down to the fact that times have changed, and anime does not need to be localized, if it's not going on for TV. So people are going to get it. People are going to get references. People don't need to be mollycoddled. Dragon Ball is meant for teens or, tweens maybe. And it doesn't need to be cut. I mean, it might not need to be toned down a little bit, but just for language, to make it a PG.
Right.
But you can have it PG-13. Yeah, especially for what they did with Kai, with the Kai dub. They did 2 versions. It's just a lot more accessible now. So you're not going to get questionable localization. Not anymore.
Right. Now,
and that's a great thing.
About Resurrection F, like I said, the animation quality for Resurrection F is a huge step up, actually, from what we got with Battle of Gods. Battle of Gods animation, even though it was really, really good, at least in my eyes, that's more like the animated TV series style of animation. But Battle of Gods just kind of is leagues and leaps and bounds above the animation quality for... I mean, Resurrection F is, leaps and bounds above Battle of Gods. Now, even further than that, we did get a lot of, there's a lot of new things going on about this series. Frieza's come back and, his golden transformation, kind of superseding now Cooler's 5th form, pushing that off to the side. And now we're getting a little bit more into the story about, Super Saiyan God power and stuff. Like, what kind of implications does this movie have for the Dragon Ball series as a whole?
I believe that this could be a precursor. I believe that they could have just stuck with having the formula of having a movie every 2 years, and that would have been perfectly fine. But I think now that this is the chance to make a series. And based on how well Resurrection F did, and how much money it made, and will continue to make, they could fund a proper series of Dragon Ball and make it look good. But and also I kind of get the feeling that really, if they were going to do a series, they have to do it now because the cast isn't getting any younger.
Right. They need to strike while the iron's
especially looking at Ozawa, who's approaching 80.
Right.
And as much as she can still belt out the screams, there's a chance that she could be taken, and I don't want that to happen anytime soon. So really, it's a chance to do it now, strike while the iron's hot. And really also, Toei's not really that good at animation these days. They're not really that good. Have you seen Sailor Moon Crystal? That was awful. And yeah, I know that it was only meant as an online web series, but still, it's a very well-respected series that deserves to be, cherished and treated well. And it wasn't. It looked awful. And the fact that they had to tidy up in the Blu-ray or DVD releases, people should not be doing that. It should not be the animation equivalent of a day one patch.
Exactly.
Seriously, it should be good from the start. And it should be good to begin with, and then if you have time, start it up a bit.
Right.
Yeah, but don't make something that's weird and then make it passable.
But going back to like what I said about the implications of the series, now, of course, anybody who has, if you went on Facebook or anywhere that had anything to do with Dragon Ball, we know about Frieza's gold form, and of course, God, I hate this name, Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. Now, Resurrection F is, I guess, I don't know the exact timeline placement. I would have to look it up, but I believe it's at the very minimum, it's a year after Battle of Gods. Now, as I've said in a couple of other interviews and stuff like that, I'm a bit of I do show a bit of favoritism when it comes to the manga, and for me, the particular placement that they picked for Resurrection F starts to encroach a little bit on what has already been established in the manga and even in the anime, about the 5-year difference, because even in the anime, Bulma says she hasn't seen Goku in 5 years, and yet here it is 4 years later, she watched him and Vegeta fight Frieza. So what kind of implications do you think, the placement of the movie and these new transformations has on the possible future of Dragon Ball? I mean, is there any way we can backtrack from here, or do we always just have to keep upping the ante, so to speak?
Well, the only way I could see it, maybe, is for just things to be either explained away, or some kind of crux, or some kind of disabler that occurs, or something like that. Like, because at the end of Z, you don't really have the call, you don't have the necessity to go Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, or Super God Saiyan, probably it should be. There's no real justification for it, and neither is there really any kind of epic thing. Goku, as far as I can tell, doesn't go Super Saiyan. He just sticks in his base form.
Right.
So there's no real necessity for that. So it doesn't really, that would not be really addressed. And I think if this is correct, then if Resurrection F happens, I think Battle of Gods happens maybe, how long is Battle of Gods after the end of the Buu saga? Is it 3 years?
It's 5 years.
Okay, 5 years.
It takes place directly in the middle of the series. It takes place in between right after the Battle of Buu and right before Goku goes to the tournament to leave with Oob, which is 10 years. Okay. And this is right smack dab in the middle.
Right, okay. So Resurrection F happens maybe 1 or 2 years afterwards.
Yeah, I was saying if they were going to try and keep with that, with the thing where it's supposed to be 5 years, I would guess that at the very minimum it's a year, because they did have to wait for the Dragon Balls to recharge, in order for what is happening in the movie to happen. Spoilers, by the way. But I think that them toying around with that, I mean, they're stepping on glass. They're stepping on a glass floor. In my eyes, anyway. I think they're trying to dance around those particular time gaps as much as possible. It comes to a point where they can't just keep. Where I think they do have to sort of like go backwards, where they have to look at that first 5 years in between Buu and Battle of Gods, because we have something that was said at the end of Z, which is now being encroached upon. But even further than that, another thing in regards to the movie, Goku and Vegeta are shown to be so much more in that movie than they are at the end of the battle with Majin Buu, which brings into question, for me anyway, how is somebody who, even though is the reincarnation of Kid Buu, but is not at that time quite as powerful as him, why would Goku look forward to fighting somebody who I think can honestly almost be one-shotted at this point?
Well, for a start, you don't see Goku fighting Oob in anything other than his base form. So it would still be quite competitive because Kid Buu is incredibly strong. And the reincarnation of Kid Buu would also be, almost be on equal pegging.
Yeah, he couldn't control his powers very well at that point, but I mean, he was still very powerful.
But he had the same power, pretty much, as Kid Buu, because he is just a human version. And I just feel like that, Goku could have one-shotted him, but doesn't necessarily mean he would, because Goku wants to fight, and this is his chance to do what he wanted to do. He made the wish to fight Kid Buu again as a human.
As a good guy.
He got that. So he's not going to just basically one-shot it. It's like, haha, I waited 10 years and, oh, my bad. He's not going to do that. So, it would be, that's how you could explain it, in that he's not going to just do it. He wants to fight.
Right.
He wants to fight on an equal level by making his power level, just not going Super Saiyan. Because if it was Super Saiyan, at that point, he would have beaten Oob within a matter of seconds.
Right.
But no, he didn't do that. So I think that's how you could explain it. And maybe the whole fact about Bulma not seeing Goku in 5 years, maybe referring to the fact of actually meeting and talking, as in like socializing.
I did my best to try and stay away from search regarding the movie, but of course, me doing Dragon Ball New Age, and having quite a few people, who, they just pretty much try to throw spoilers at me. So, if I get an email that doesn't have a heading and then I open it up and it's got spoilers of Resurrection F, I can't close out of it quick enough, before I will actually see something. So I have seen more than I care to, but I can say that, even in some of the spoiled footage that we got, that Bulma, I don't know if she has like a lot of direct communication with Goku at that time, but she does get to like see Goku at least. So she sees Vegeta and Goku fight Frieza. So it's like I said, they're dancing around it without actually stepping on it, but it comes to the point where you gotta see how far you're actually gonna go with it. As far as like Resurrection F, everybody was super, super hyped for Resurrection F. I mean, myself included. I was so excited when I heard about Resurrection F. And, we're talking about this whole steamrolling that Dragon Ball is doing. It's just, it's rolling down the hill and just picking up more pace and momentum as we go. We have to now go and talk about Dragon Ball Super.
Finally, yay!
Yay! First impressions on the series. My first impression, I was, like with Resurrection F, I was very, very excited. The vague information that was presented to us in the initial reports does raise some questions, for myself anyway. But, before I even get into that, I want to know, what was your first impressions when you woke up and you got the announcement that they were going to do Dragon Ball Super?
Actually, it was halfway through the day. I was working, and I was just going on a break, and I saw something about Dragon Ball Super, and I thought, no way. No way. What? And I thought this was a prank. I thought this was a prank, and I thought, because I remember the days of where they were going to do Dragon Ball V, and I was thinking of back in the early 2000s, or Dragon Ball Z 2, which was actually but Dragon Ball V was actually a game, turned out. I think there was Dragon Ball Z V or something. I think it was a PS1 game.
I think I remember something like that.
Something along that, but there was confusion, and then of course this is basically what Dragon Ball AF should have been.
Right.
But no. As soon as I found out, no, this is real, I was like, oh, and it's coming out in 3 months.
I know.
Oh my god.
It's ridiculous how quick. I mean, because from what I heard, again, this is hearsay. From what I heard, it's the same production the same production staff that worked with Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. So from what I was told and what I've heard through various podcasts, through on Kenzenshu and stuff like that, the same production company was working in conjunction when they were doing the movies. they were also animating Dragon Ball Super, which they were able to bring this thing out really quick. I think the only thing I take issue with the timing of the announcement of this series is, wouldn't it have made a bit more sense for them to cash in a lot more on the Resurrection F hype before they actually dropped the series? That's just me.
Oh, because it was too soon after Resurrection F.
Yeah, I mean, because Resurrection F comes out, when? Like... It
came out, you found out about it, ages ago. It premieres at the middle of April. Then 2 weeks later, Dragon Ball Super drops.
Right.
We've not even seen Resurrection F yet.
Right, and now we get a new series behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's yay? Maybe if this was, we found out about this, at the end of the year, maybe, that would have been cool. But hey, if we're getting Dragon Ball in 6 weeks, then hey, right. I'm not going to say anything.
Right. Now, I've got the particular article, the original one that was pulled up. I've got it pulled up on kenzenshu.com. Let's discuss a little bit about Dragon Ball F. We'll discuss a little bit about what we currently know about the series, and then I want to ask your opinions on what you expect to see. So, besides a couple of people from Toei Animation, including the storyboard editor for Battle of Gods, some of the names that are attached to the series, of course, Masako Nozawa came out and said, "Oh yeah, I'm the voice of Goku."
Duh.
Yeah, no duh. But another big name, people might have heard of him, Akira Toriyama, is also attached to the series. But here's where a bit of the vagueness comes in, because from the article itself it says, drawn from a plot from the brand's original creator. And there goes into the vagueness of Akira Toriyama's involvement storyline-wise. We don't know currently, did Toriyama write all of Dragon Ball Super, or is it like with the Yo Son Goku and his friends return thing, where he's like, hey, here's an idea for the plot, make a story out of it?
Well, I believe after Dragon Ball Evolution that Toriyama had something to do with it, and he was trying to help, and then Fox was just say, nope, we don't want to know. He's not going to let that happen again.
Right. I heard Mike from Kenzenshu, when they were doing their podcast, that Akira Toriyama, I guess he tried to give some input on Dragon Ball Evolution, but they didn't really, they didn't listen to him about it at all. And then Toriyama's editor kind of dragged him back into the fold after Dragon Ball Evolution when it came to Battle of Gods. Because right before they did Kai, Toei Animation went to Akira Toriyama and said, well, we want to do a new Dragon Ball series, and Toriyama just flat out said, no, I don't want to do anything with it. So that's when they decided to do Kai. But then, for as horrible as it was, we kind of have to thank Dragon Ball Evolution for being such a huge dud, because if it wasn't for Dragon Ball Evolution, I don't think the people close to Akira Toriyama would have been able to drag him back into the series like they did, and now he seems to have fallen in love with it again.
Well, I wouldn't say that he's fallen in love with it. I would say that he's kind of accepted he can't escape it. So he can't escape it. So he can now use this chance as a chance to tie up loose ends, and then integrate the fact that he did Jocko. It's Jocko the Galactic Patrolman. He can have him included and actually do a little bit of story, and then work with other people as well. I mean, he's now knows that he's going to be set for life in terms of money if he wasn't already. But
right.
Yeah, he can now just he might not have to write every single episode. He may be as part of the writing team.
Right. Because it has been stated, he is overseeing the project.
So he might do what Stephen Moffat does for Doctor Who. Maybe he writes maybe 25-30% of the scripts, and then for everything else gives a plot summary to tell people how to work.
So you think it's probably more along the lines of the Jump special, the Son Goku and his friends return, where he probably has plot outlines for episodes, but he leaves it up to Toei Animation to flesh it out and actually write it.
And I believe that he gets final say. As in, like, if there's something about the script that he doesn't approve of, then he would either go and work with the writer, or he would just go and fix it himself.
Like he did with Battle of Gods.
Yeah.
All right. Now, as we go back into, and we're going to speak more on the vagueness, because this initial press release, there's, like I said, a lot of vagueness. It's directly from the interview. Dragon Ball Super will follow the aftermath of Goku's fierce battle with Majin Buu. Now, for me, when I first read that, that means it takes place after Majin Buu, which would set it before Battle of Gods. But that 10-year time gap, even after Battle of Gods, could still be considered after the battle with Majin Buu. So we really don't even know an exact timeline placement for this particular series, and we likely aren't going to know until the series actually drops, or maybe a week before.
I think that it could be one of two things. It could be immediately after Resurrection F. Could be. It could also be literally after Majin Buu. So it could be just back to there again. So, and then in between that and Battle of Gods. Or alternatively, as I say, it could be to Resurrection F. And I personally believe, and this is a bit of a gamble here, that we could actually see the origins of Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta.
Which would, I think, almost anybody who has even a passing interest in Vegeta would love to see Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta finally canonized and represented in his full glory instead of just being a video game character.
Because it implies with Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Vegeta, he has the blue hair. That implies that he went Super Saiyan God at one point during his training.
Yeah, he had to have in order to absorb that level of power.
Yeah, he would have had to. And he would have probably either fought with Whis or fought Beerus, and did pretty much almost a carbon copy that Goku did with Beerus. But it might have just been an experiment, and then he would have done some training under Super Saiyan God form, and then it would have been absorbed back into him, and that same thing would have happened. So it would have had to have happened at one point.
Yeah, I mean, personally, for me, I would kind of like them to leave the timeline after Resurrection F, that little time frame in between Resurrection F and the end of Z where Goku meets Oob. I would kind of like them to leave that particular area of time alone. It would make more sense for them to maybe flesh out that little bit of 5-year empty time between the battle with Majin Buu and Battle of Gods, which is where we could see the rise of Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and other things particularly of that nature. Maybe we could see more of Trunks and Goten coming up into their own and stuff like that. But
yeah, sure.
For me, I think that would probably be the ideal area of time for them to do that particular series.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, that would be a cool idea, and it's definitely something that should have something. It's hard to say, but it would ultimately be cool if they could actually fill that out, and that means there'd be a full timeline, and that's always nice to have. It's nice not to have gaps.
Yeah, I mean, because Dragon Ball is sort of infamous for having numerous time gaps, just like we spoke on before, they have this huge 10-year time gap between Majin Buu and the end of Z. They had a 7-year time gap after the battle with Cell before the Buu saga. There's a 3-year time gap when Goku leaves to train with Kami before the, World Martial Arts Tournament when he comes back and he's full-sized now. Dragon Ball is sort of infamous for all those timeline, time skips. And, I do agree with you. I think for this huge time gap, this 10-year one, it is kind of good to flesh it out. I think some of it sometimes comes off a bit unnecessary in my eyes, at least at first. But I do think it's kind of cool to explore the different facets of what could have happened other than just, they've just been training and eating this entire time and doing absolutely nothing.
I mean, you could easily explain that away. It says, it's just training and eating, and then that's it. Especially the eating. But yes. But yeah, they could have just easily done that. But it could either be just immediately after Resurrection F, or or in between or before Battle of Gods. It's somewhere the movies hold a key point. The key
Right.
to where the Super's going to go.
And another little bit of information that we did get in regards to the series was the announcement of a villain who is said to possibly be stronger than Boo and Frieza, which that very statement is another thing that draws its placement in the timeline.
And you know what?
Into question.
You know what? I'm going to actually throw a curveball. I think it's going to be Towa and Mira.
Which I agreed with that when I listened to their podcast. I think it would be awesome if Dragon Ball Super was Dragon Ball Xenoverse, the anime.
Yeah, I think it would be cool.
I think that would be awesome.
If Towa actually, or is it Mira? No, it's Towa. If Towa came back, or Towa and Mira had something to do with it, that whole kind of shtick.
Right.
That would be cool.
I mean, it would be interesting if, like, Super is, like, it's a bridging point between the series and the video game. Of course, we know, like, you know, for most of us anyway, Mira and Towa are originally Dragon Ball Online villains, you know, and Dragon Ball Online was supposed to be the timeline that continued the actual manga story, and it ignored GT. But Mira and Towa were actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were actually designed by Akira Toriyama, and they are such interesting characters, and I would love to see their storyline brought out of the video game and into the series. I do think that would be a really, really interesting idea. Absolutely.
Because there's so much about them. So to not use them again after Xenoverse, I mean, they would either have to use them for Xenoverse 2 or Super.
Yeah, I mean, the ending of Xenoverse shows that, here's more spoilers for you guys, if you haven't finished the game yet. Mira is destroyed by your character, but his core survives, and then Towa picks up his core, and they plan on coming back. It would be awesome. It would be an awesome way to tie the video game with the actual series, in that Dragon Ball Xenoverse is sort of like the prequel to Dragon Ball Super, and it would just be an interesting way to tie it all together.
I think that Super would be more like a spin-off of
okay, yeah, I could see that, where they're not exactly taking word for word or event for event what happens in Xenoverse and Online, but they're just applying those particular characters to the actual story. Now, one thing that has happened a lot since the announcement of Super is that people kind of like what they were doing with Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. Now, granted, Resurrection F itself, it starts to tap dance on the toes of Dragon Ball GT. And before anybody goes into a rage fit, I'm not trying to be a GT defense squad. I'm just voicing opinions and ideas. Granted, Resurrection F starts to make it hard for GT to sort of exist. But I don't think that Super, despite a bunch of fans wanting them to do it, I don't think Super is Toei Animation's attempt to erase GT. I think it behooves Toei to sort of in the back of their mind to try and tie them together, at least from a professional standpoint. Granted, we don't know all, what Akira Toriyama himself even knows about, what all he might know about Dragon Ball GT and what direction his story took. I think Xenoverse and the DLC did a really good job of trying to explain how GT could possibly happen. But, what do you think? I personally don't think that Toei is using Super as an excuse to erase GT.
Why would they erase GT? They still make a lot of money out of it.
Exactly.
They wouldn't
that was
do
my
that.
point.
Now we've talked all about this. Dragon Ball Super could be after Goku leaves with Oob.
It could.
It could be. It could be that 5 years between Z and GT. So it could bridge that gap in between and have Pan grow up. It could have Goten and Trunks becoming adults. It could have Goku maybe, flitting in and out, because it's never really explained how much interaction he had, because knowing Goku, he could have easily come back.
Right.
Yeah, so there could be, or maybe there could be complete sagas that Goku's not in it. Could be.
Which I think would be interesting if they do have like whole parts of the series where Goku isn't involved in it. I think for me, one of the big concerns, especially like with the storyline writing of GT in particular, was that, a lot of people bring it up, that GT was sort of like what they refer to as Goku time. It was Goku was pivotal and central to everything, which, to a degree, it's his story. It's supposed to sort of be about him. But, GT really made it so that nobody but Goku could really do anything, and I think that was one of the things they did to a fault. But, like, what exactly, in your opinion, what do you want to see from Dragon Ball Super?
What I want to see is basically a series that gives the feeling of Z. It gives the feeling of Z in terms of the production, the quality. I just don't want Toei to slack on this, because it could easily happen, and I have very high worries and concerns. So
right, there's no reason to not have any questions or concerns for the future of the series as it pertains to Dragon Ball Super, because you even brought up a brilliant point, which I can go back to and I can actually compare it to. I worry at times about Dragon Ball Super ending up like Sailor Moon Crystal. People, a lot of people I know, especially the girl from Kenzenshu, when I listened to their podcast, even she said she's hate watching Sailor Moon Crystal because she was such a huge fan of it. But, from a storyline standpoint and from the animation standpoint, she said it does, the series a disservice. And I think that's one of the things that I worry about with Dragon Ball Super is like, yes, I'm so psyched that Akira Toriyama is part of it, and, maybe he won't let Toei repeat the same mistakes that they made with GT, but in the back of your mind, that still has to be there, that it's entirely possible that without even knowing it, they could repeat some of those same mistakes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's definitely a chance. I don't think it'll happen, though, because Dragon Ball is way too important. It's way too important.
It really is.
It
seems like if your series is not named Dragon Ball, you don't have a budget.
Or One Piece.
Or One Piece. Or Naruto.
No, when we're talking with Toei here, because yes, okay. Studio Pierrot, which does Naruto or did Naruto, their animation is usually alright, usually quite decent.
Yeah.
But Toei has been really bad the last few years in terms of if it's not Dragon Ball or One Piece, sometimes even if it is Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball cutscenes in games, some of them look quite good, some of them don't.
Right.
So if it's not One Piece and to some extent Dragon Ball, you really don't, or Toriko for the initial run.
Yeah, those seem to be their three biggest properties.
Don't get a good budget, or you don't or you don't get the talent, you don't get the experienced hand, you get the more junior people, and it's obviously good for that it gives them a chance to cut their teeth. But still, if you're giving them a mainstream animation, it means that the lesser known shows are going to take a hit.
Right.
And because Sailor Moon Crystal was an online web series, it didn't have as big of a budget, but it still had the name. But it was just so shocking. It was just so shocking how a series like this could have been neglected.
Right. And to go back to, a little bit of a comparison about Sailor Moon Crystal. Sailor Moon Crystal, when it was announced, they announced the original voice actor for Sailor Moon, but then they recast everybody. And that's another thing that I'm really super duper hoping that they don't do with Dragon Ball Super.
No. They wouldn't go that far on bringing back everyone for Resurrection F to suddenly drop them.
No. Right, absolutely. And only have Masako Nozawa in there, But again, these are just like little questions, comments, and concerns because of the vague information that we have.
Well, Well, the thing is, though, is that it's just getting... They don't need to say anything. All they could have just said was, new Dragon Ball coming out, July.
Right.
Boom. That would have been enough. No. So that's all they could have said, and we'd have swallowed it up.
Right.
So
it does seem that if you attach Dragon Ball to virtually anything, people are going to watch it, and it's people who might have listened to another podcast where I said maybe not the greatest things in the most amicable manner possible, would think that, I'm just out and out, I hate Dragon Ball Super. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I am so ridiculously excited for this series. But that doesn't stop me from having, like I said, having questions, comments, concerns, and being maybe a tad apprehensive about it. But as I said, right now, everything that all of my nervousness and apprehension about the series is based on this vague information we have because, like I said, this vague information just brings up a ton of questions. Now, I'm sure that as the series gets closer to debuting or even as we start watching the series, because, thanks to the beauty that is the internet, everybody's going to be able to watch it regardless of when it gets dubbed over in America. We're going to be able to watch it the day that it gets released in Japan. And that's going to be a really big first for Dragon Ball as a whole because, for the most part, like you, me, we're both around the same age. The series was really, I think, kind of wrapped up by the time the fandom started to, explode in America. The series was already wrapped up, so we've been dealing with a wrapped up series and just it's being sporadically released in America to now we've got a new series that we have no spoilers of. There's no manga to this, so we're all on the same footing when it comes to Dragon Ball Super. And I think that's a huge selling point for this series is that we have nothing to base it off of except for our past backlog of Dragon Ball. We're all babies going into this. And I think that is so ridiculously cool about this.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole new generation getting the excitement that the older generation had.
I mean, can you imagine how it's going to be? I mean, right now we don't know how many episodes that they're going to do. Usually what they'll do with something like this, if they're going to test the waters with the series, they'll do something around like 26 episodes and see how the waters fare, and then if they're making money and they're doing good, then they'll sign on for more series. But, I mean, I do want to ask that about you. Would you like to see this series just to just pick off like a serialized manga where they just keep going and introduce more and more story elements, or would you like to see it have like a defined endpoint?
I think it has the potential to carry on forever or for ages. But most realistically, considering the heft of Dragon Ball, I can imagine this being at least a 4-season series. So like 52 episodes. I could see this being at least 52. That's
at least 52. That's your call.
I'm gonna put my neck out and say 52. But also at the same time it could be a lot more. It could be 100, 200. Depends on what they can do.
Now, to jump back off of the speculation, we're going to jump off the speculation train. I think I think we've both brought a little something to this to the table in terms of the series, what we're looking forward to. But I do have a sizable fan base. I would probably venture to say that you're probably a little bit bigger in terms of the fan base. But I asked fans on Facebook questions that they would like to ask of you, and if I do have quite a few, but I think we should be able to breeze through them relatively quickly. Mm-hmm. So we'll just start from the top. Quinn Giles, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. What is your least favorite Dragon Ball moment that's not GT?
I mean, I would have to say, well, Garlic Jr. is too obvious. That's too obvious.
Now, are we talking the filler saga?
We're talking the filler saga. Garlic Jr. is, in terms of movie 1, was fine. But I
loved that
I personally think everything Broly. And this is just with age talking. Because when I was younger and I saw Broly for the first time, I was kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now that you look back at it, and the fact is he is just the Hulk. He is just DBZ Hulk.
He is
DB
Hulk all the way.
That's all he is, and there's nothing to him. It's because he's like that because Goku cried. What?
Which Toriyama has completely retconned with Dragon Ball Minus, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, that's been retconned. So now Broly's actions do not exist.
Right.
His raison d'etre is now completely null and void. I mean, because in the Dragon Ball Minus, Goku's sent off to Earth and he's a kid.
And he spent the first 3 years of his life in an incubator away from other babies.
Yeah, exactly. So he's been in isolation.
Right. So, and from what I can remember about the Broly movie, I believe Broly was born
at the same time.
He was born hours before the planet was destroyed, and Goku would have been long gone by then.
Yeah, well, no, but but they were born roughly at the same time, because you see shots of Goku and Broly next to each other.
Yeah, in the anime. But in Minus, he's 3 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, in Minus, he's sent to Earth when he was 3 years old. He was a toddler.
Yeah, so really, Broly's nowhere to be seen.
Right, and he was nowhere to be seen. And he was sent to Earth a month before Planet Vegeta was destroyed.
Instead of hours before.
As it was being destroyed. Now, granted, this is where we could get into that whole argument between animated canon and the regular canon, but, let's not dive into that can of worms. So,
well, Dragon Ball Minus is more canon than the movies are.
Exactly.
But the fact is that Broly was a mistake. Broly should have been a one-movie villain. And then he would have still been ridiculous, but it would have been like, hey, one movie. Whatever.
I mean, I said in previous podcasts, I enjoy the Dragon Ball Z movies, but I do bring into question a lot the writing of the Broly movies and a few of the other movies in general, but the Broly movies most of all, and mostly because I'm sort of baffled by the amount of popularity that Broly has, but I think it's just the fact that he's, like you said, he's DBZ Hulk. And I guess people just like a big, huge, hulking badass who no-sells everything.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's what I'd have to say my answer is.
Okay, so the Garlic Jr. saga and the Broly movies. That's your least favorite Dragon Ball moments.
Yep.
Kevin Davis asks, if there was one what-if story you'd like to see in the Dragon Ball Z series, what would it be?
I would like to see what would have happened if Gohan and Goku actually tried on the Patara earrings.
The Gohan fusion?
Gohan. I would have liked to see that. What if
maybe an idea for Xenoverse 2?
Yeah, I mean, what if Gohan happened?
That would be sweet.
Because I believe that would have been enough. But then again, Vegeta would have been absorbed.
Yeah.
So you'd have had, basically, you would have had Super Buu, but just more of like Vegeta, and that would have probably been, a challenge.
Yeah, probably I don't think he would have been as strong as Buhan, but he still would have been a challenge.
Yeah, so I just think that would have been quite interesting.
So who do you think wins, Gohan or Vegito?
I think Gohan could have done, Gohan would have got the job done.
Right.
Vegito postulated.
But he did it with a plan.
Yeah, but I still think Gohan would have they would have got it done a lot quicker.
Alright. Kong Dong Tao asks, any plans for Dragon Ball GT Abridged when DBZ Abridged is done, or are you guys doing something new when DBZ Abridged is over?
This calls for the Titus laugh. No.
I can't imagine how many times you guys get this question.
The is that we're just going to get to the end of the Cell Saga and see how we go, really. And that's going to be another 3-4 years. So
right.
That's going to be ages. So we got to get that done first, ultimately. But really, other than that, I can't really say.
All right. Abdul Sameh Ahadi asks, have you read Dragon Ball Multiverse?
I actually did years ago. I got a fair bits into it, but I really need to get back into it. But I thought at the time it was a really cool idea. So I think it's a cool idea.
Now, let me ask you something in regards to Dragon Ball Multiverse. From a lot of people that I read, Multiverse is kind of unique in that it's one of the few Dragon Ball fan mangas that actually takes place after Dragon Ball Z and not after GT. Do you feel, as some of the fans of Dragon Ball Multiverse do, that it is for them anyway, a more faithful continuation of the series than the post-GT stories?
I think it's an interesting take, because it takes on the whole fact that Otherworld has different planets and different universes and galaxies. I think it opens up a more creative future for Dragon Ball. Yeah, really. I just think it's a much more innovative idea than a GT one.
I do kind of look at Dragon Ball Multiverse sort of. I think it's a more palatable way to go about the story of Dragon Ball Heroes. Dragon Ball Heroes is just...
That's a money grabbing exercise.
Yeah, that's fan service, the video game. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the closest thing that I can draw it to, is that we're giving fans the chance to see these fights that they've never seen, but they're still sticking to the lore. Nobody's getting crazy out of control power ups and stuff like that. So in terms of that, I find Dragon Ball Multiverse more palatable than Heroes.
Mm. Yeah.
Colton Spain asks, are you excited for Dragon Ball Super, or are you worried it's going to be another cash grab attempt like Dragon Ball GT?
Oh, it's going to be a cash grab no matter how good it is.
Right.
Because the fact they're doing a series, that's cash grab in itself. Of course it's going to be.
Yes.
Every single series is a cash grab. So every single game is a cash grab. So quite frankly, it's going to be like that no matter how good it is. It could be great. You're still going to make money out of it. You're just going to make a lot of money from it. So.
Yeah, I think people seem to overlook the fact that Toei is in the business of making money. They are not in the business of fan service.
No. Toei's not really good at doing that.
Jason Campbell has 3 questions for you. When and how did you and I meet? What do you think of Dragon Ball New Age? And if Xenoverse gets a sequel, could we see you and the other DBZA cast members as characters as voices for characters? Which I think we touched on a little bit, but so first question: how did I find New Age? When and how did you and I meet?
Basically, I found out about New Age on DeviantArt, and then I read it, and it was amazing, and I said, "Hi, I'd like to help. I'd volunteer myself for Goku. I volunteer as tribute." That is literally how it was, and I think you can attest to that. It was basically, I said, I thought you were awesome, and I wanted to help out however I could.
Which I really do appreciate. But yeah, I think a lot of people sort of think that, I went out and I'm just like, "Hi, Masako, I'm a fan manga artist. Notice me, senpai."
No, it was senpai noticing student.
Talk to me, senpai.
And it would just been like, no. No, it was the other way around, I'd say.
Yeah, so there you go, people, for people who want the air cleared. It was Masako who came after me.
Yeah, exactly. What can I say? Dragon Ball New Age, the art is spot on, in my eyes. It's just dead on. That's all
Is some of the older artwork, I guess for me, it's just I'm a perfectionist when it comes to my artwork. I think I'm getting close. But I do get a lot of compliments that my art is just about as spot on with Toriyama's stuff, especially my current art style is about as spot on with Toriyama as some people can get, which I do thank anybody who says that, because I work literally day in and day out on this. I go to my full-time job and work on Dragon Ball New Age in my off time on my full-time job, and then as soon as I come back home, I work on Dragon Ball New Age for 16 hours a day. I work on all things Dragon Ball New Age. So I'm hoping that the time invested shows dividends. And and I guess like I said, we touched on this a little bit earlier. If Xenoverse gets a sequel, do you think you and the other TFS members might be invited back to be voices for characters?
I mean, anything's possible, really, but it'd be foolish of us to assume that we're gonna go oh yes, we're part of TeamFourStar, kiss our rings and make us be in your series. We deserve to be in it because we made a stupid parody. No, it's not like that at all. It's basically, if they want us, then we'll do it. But it's if they don't, or if there's if there's nothing really planned for us, that's okay. So, we'll play the game because the game probably be good.
Right.
And so, that is, yeah. So I think it's really, we can't just presume. It's just, you never know.
Alrighty. Well, Edgar Galindo had a similar question. He said, how did you and I meet when I'm such a small person in comparison to you? But I think we explained that. Masako came after me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Robert Lavrinick asked, oh my god, Kenichi abridged. Good idea or great idea?
I can't really say because I'm not really kind of familiar with it.
I having watched through the entire series that's currently dubbed, I think you might actually get a kick out of that, Moss. I would probably recommend that. At least it's going to start off kind of slow, and you might get annoyed with the fact that Kenichi is such a wimp for the first 2 or 3 episodes, but I think it'll really grow on you. I think you might want to try and check that out.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Aaron Webb asks, how did you find out your incredible power to impersonate Goku?
Oh, well, I think it's just a case of this being I liked Goku from the outset, and I guess really when it came to doing the DBZ movies, I just thought that I got offered to do, I asked whether I could do Goku, and I gave it a go, and I thought I did quite well. And obviously because Masako is a namesake to Masako Nozawa, so I just thought that I really want to try and give Goku a go. And at the beginning, my Goku voice was too deep, but there was potential in there. And now over the years, it's really kind of mellowed out, and I think I got a good Goku down. But ultimately, the thing to remember is that this is just a fan thing. I'm not trying to replace anybody. I'm not trying to one up anybody. This is just my interpretation of a character I really like, really. So.
All right. Elijah Smith wants to know, do you think Dende in the future is still alive and can create new Dragon Balls? I guess he's speaking towards the end of the last episode of GT, when we see 100 years in the future. Do you think Dende's still alive and can create new Dragon Balls?
Namekians live for ages.
Yeah, I think they live 1,000 years or something like that.
And Dende's a teenager at the end of Z and GT.
Yeah, so he's only 20 years old.
Yeah, so basically he'll either be mature, he'll be what Piccolo is in Z, or he'll be probably slightly older, middle-aged, but I don't know. But I think potentially he would still be alive, perfectly alive.
I think as far as creating new Dragon Balls, though, I think that after the whole debacle that they would go through with the Shadow Dragons at the end of GT, I think they would try to stay away from making new Dragon Balls.
Dragon Balls, they'd be kept under lock and key and only used when, for absolute emergencies.
Charlie Wright wants to know, do you think that they will be introducing more gods in the new Dragon Ball Super? And if so, what gods do you think they should bring in? For example, a god of space, terror, or battle strategy?
Oh, I don't think they should do that because they did that with the Kais and that worked just fine. But I think really
I'm in agreement.
Really with the gods, it would just cheapen the idea.
Right.
Really.
I think it's a much more novel and interesting idea when, in terms of these other hierarchy gods, we've got Beerus and Whis, and so far that's all we know. In terms of, gods sitting in one particular universal sphere. Of course, anybody who knows what I did with Dragon Ball New Age is I went, above that. I create gods who monitor those gods. But, that's neither here nor there. So, in your opinion, you don't think they should bring in any new gods?
No. I think that with Beerus and Whis, they're so good. I just think leave it at that.
Whis is such a very entertaining character.
I know, and Ian Sinclair's interpretation is just beautiful.
Yes, it absolutely is. When I first heard his English voice, I was just like, oh, that's the voice I thought. Yes, that's what I want. Ryan Powelko says, your take on Goku is such an interesting and unique spin on the character. How did you come up with the voice?
Oh, well, it's basically a combination of many pretty much all the Gokus that I've seen. Like, Masako Nozawa's kind of young youth, Sean Schemmel's goofiness, kind of like, again, more of Ian Collett and Peter Kalimus's youth, but more of Kalimus's intonations. Like the kind of rolling person. So that kind of thing. So I think it sounds closest to Kalimus, ultimately. So that's what I think it does. But I think it's a mixture of them all, I'd say.
Right. Yeah, your take from the time I heard you in the first episode always reminded me of more of the Ocean dub Goku rather than Sean Schemmel's, which, for me, I grew up with the Ocean dub, so your voice really fit Goku for me.
Yeah.
Which is, didn't, it sort of played a part in me saying, yeah, you got the part of Goku without even auditioning for it there, bud. Good on you. But yeah, I always, I have to agree with him. I really liked the unique take that you have on the character of Goku, and granted, it was for creative differences, but I do think that Melavelli and Dragon Ball Absalon are missing out by not keeping you on as the voice of Goku.
Yeah, that was a sad time. I recorded. I think I hadn't even recorded I'd recorded some lines for it, and I then got the message saying that that was being dropped. I was like, oh, I'm kind of like, I don't know what I did wrong. I did everything you told me to do or something. Oh, well, it's a shame. It would have been cool, but, I was so stoked for it, and Absalon's still a cool idea, but, it was a shame to not being able to work on it.
All right. And, Alexander Keenan, our final questions. Would you have liked to have seen Vegeta versus Goku at the World Tournament before the Buu Saga happened? And would you have liked to see Gohan go crazy mad on Spopovich for hurting Videl during their fight?
I don't think Gohan would have gone insane with Spopovich, because, Gohan would have just known to, get some sensu beans, or, get someone to get some sensu beans from Korin's tower to, heal Videl quickly. But he would still be incredibly furious and, would be motivated to basically kick Spopovich into another dimension. Into the next dimension.
Oh, God, please don't bring it up. What the hiffle are you talking about? But yeah, the first part of his question...
Hey, so long as there aren't any parachutes, they're okay.
Parachutes. The first part of his question, would you have liked to have seen Goku and Vegeta actually fight in the World Tournament, or do you like the way it played out in the Buu Saga?
I think it worked well. Yeah, with having Vegeta in the Buu Saga, and for Vegeta and Goku basically fighting all out.
Right.
Basically without having to restrain. What would have been really cool as an ending, if they didn't have the Oob thing, would have actually to have Goku and Vegeta fight in base form and go say, okay, Vegeta, I want us to finish what we started. And it said, indeed, Kakarot. And then basically just going for it, and then basically end credits. And that would have been the end. I'd have been okay with that. But still, I did like the whole, we make a pretty good team, don't we? Because after two rivals, now friends. I'm thinking, that was cool. That was a good end to the episode.
Now, really quickly, before we start winding this down, we talked just really quickly about Dragon Ball Absalon really quick. Mm-hmm. You said it was still a cool idea. I know people will want me to ask you about this in the next time we do this, if I don't ask it now. What are your opinions on the Dragon Ball Absalon?
I think it is a very novel and an ambitious idea to have one guy primarily doing the animation, and to actually come up with something quite dark, almost making Dragon Ball R-rated. Yeah. Actually bringing out the idea that Saiyans are their new enemy. That this batch of Saiyans come back and try and take out everyone else. and the fact that Vegeta is pretty much the leader to basically just, I don't know. I think there have been some creative issues with the whole Pan and Oob thing. Like, Pan's design is a little bit,
Yeah.
they're not sure about that. But, like, a bit too sexualized in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, like, Videl is really cute. And I did have a massive crush on her when I was 17. Not gonna lie.
You got it here, people. Exclusive. MasakoX has a crush on Videl. You are now free to send him all of your MasakoX Videl shipping.
I had, basically.
I'd ship it.
But Videl is a cool character, but she's pretty cute, I must say. Yeah, speaking as a cartoon character, not as a real person, no. And Pan.
Waifu.
No. Yeah, I'm not. This isn't Butthurt Anime Fan Z. But I am only solely to my waifu. Yeah, no, it's not like that at all. It's just basically, I just feel like, what were we talking about again? Oh, Absalon, yeah.
Absalon.
Pan. I just feel like it was a bit of a mismatch in that sense. But I just like the idea of it. And the acting was good, cool, pretty good. And I just thought the only things that were lacking is that the sound design was a bit pants. I was going to say. It's gotten better. It's gotten better with time, but it's just, on a technical level, it just needs to be improved a little bit. Yeah.
I spoke a little bit on it when I did my Malik reviews of Dragon Ball Absalon. You know, you mentioned earlier about how it's a bit more dark, and I do agree that while that is a bit of a more unique take on it, for me that just kind of takes me out of the series a little bit. I still enjoy watching them, but I even made the comparison, or and quoted it in the review, that it's like Street Fighter if you copied and pasted Dragon Ball characters on them.
Yeah, that's not a bad...
In terms of designs and its atmosphere, and it taking place on our Earth and not the Dragon World Earth.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's definitely something to consider, because it is set on our Earth, and Dragon Ball's meant to be, there's violence, but it's also meant to be quite happy-go-lucky at the same time.
Yeah, lighthearted and bright.
Yeah.
And Absalon is just very dark.
Almost
and
too
broody.
dark. So, there's you lose something. And, it's a pretty important thing.
But it's not going to stop me from watching the new episode when it comes out.
Oh, no, of course not.
Well, Mas, we have really sat down and chewed the fat. I really appreciate you coming into the lounge. I see you've gone through about 5 cans of heat tap, so now I have to re-up.
Sorry.
But it's cool. It's cool. Nobody can resist the mighty lure of heat tap. But before we get out of here, you are on Patreon. You mentioned a couple of your other websites. If you would, just please divulge your Patreon contact info, and I will also be including a link down in the description. Just again, just give us a couple of the websites where we can find you and where people can talk to you.
Yeah, you can find me at patreon.com/MasakoX for my Patreon. The TeamFourStar Patreon as well is patreon.com/TFS, or just TFS. And you can find me on AnifileReviews.com, where I have my anime reviews and bad fan fiction theater. And then, of course, you can find me on Twitter at MasakoX.
Alrighty. And Masako, again, thank you very, very much for coming on my debut episode. Hopefully, we're not going to run into any bugs and I can actually post this one this time. And like we talked about in the previous recording, I'm really hoping that roundabout YumaCon, you and I will actually be able to sit face to face and do one of these. I think that would be really, really cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Really looking forward to seeing you at YumaCon
that'll be
again.
fun.
We have to start getting together more than just once a year at YumaCon, dude. If I have to pay for your plane ticket, I will.
Well, that's appreciated, but I don't think it's practical. But still, thank you, man.
All right, guys, and again, thank you, Masako. Thank you all for listening and watching. Stay tuned for the next episode of Malik's Lounge, guests to be announced. And we will all be seeing you next time.